After 6 years of political upheaval following the country's exit from the European Union, London's economic standing has suffered severe damage. It's mostly just anecdotes and rumors that don't amount to much, but little jibes can remind us of how quickly a country's economic reputation can crumble. In this case, such gossip speaks volumes about the collapse of the United Kingdom's image among the international business community. After nearly 7 years of non-stop internal battles over Brexit, 5 prime ministers, 7 chancellors of the exchequer, and 8 secretaries of state for business, investors have been left scratching their heads. And at a recent dinner party, the head of a European railway company operating in the UK shrugged his shoulders in disbelief at the British fiasco over its second high-speed railway line, which was supposed to link London to Manchester, but ultimately stopped halfway at Birmingham. It was supposed to be called HS2, High Speed 2, because it was the country's second high-speed line. Instead, it will be HS 1.5 or even HS 1.25, he said. And he no longer had any confidence in the current British government in light of this ongoing instability. We are staying put in this country for now and waiting to see about the next government. You know, the general election must be held no later than January 28th in 2025. In another end-of-meal confidence, a French ready-to-wear clothing boss went down a lengthy list of the problems caused by Brexit. He's had to change his supply chain, paperwork has become more cumbersome, and hiring is more difficult due to a lack of staff. And more unexpectedly, tourists have been spending less in the capital ever since the British government abolished tax relief at the border in the wake of Brexit. London has long been the go-to city for international shopping. It's where the big brands absolutely had to be, he said. But that's been shifting more and more to Paris. According to him, the luxury stores on Regent Street, one of the city's main thoroughfares, have begun to struggle. And Keir Starmer, the leader of Britain's main opposition Labour Party, he is expected to be the next, and he has praised the former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, which is a deeply unpopular figure among Labour supporters, as she seeks to woo Conservative voters ahead of election expected next year. And Starmer, whose left-wing party is around 20 points ahead of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservatives in opinion polls, is trying to consolidate that lead by broadening Labour's appeal to attract voters who have rejected the party in the general elections over the past 13 years. Thatcher, who was then dubbed the Iron Lady by the British press, was the leader of the Conservative Party in Great Britain from 1979 to 1990. She was an extremely divisive figure, celebrated by some but loathed by many on the left, because she busted unions and privatized large parts of British industry. She died in 2013. And I also talked about a certain Brexit lawsuit recently. But now we have a result. James Dyson, the billionaire inventor of the backless vacuum cleaner, lost a libel lawsuit on Friday against a British newspaper publisher over a column that branded him a hypocrite who had screwed Britain. Dyson sued the Mirror Group newspapers, the MGN publisher of the Daily Mirror, at London's High Court over articles lambasting him for moving his company's global head office from Britain to Singapore after championing the economic benefits of Brexit. You know, Britain's withdrawal from the European Union I always talk about. Judge Robert Jay dismissed Dyson's lawsuit in a written ruling. Dyson said in a witness statement last month that the 2022 column in the Daily Mirror was not only wrong but incredibly harmful to his reputation. He said that, as someone who had invested heavily in Britain and its young people, he found the criticism particularly damaging and distressing. Well, the High Court ruled that MGN had successfully argued its defense of honest opinion and that Dyson had not proved that he had suffered serious harm as a result of the column. The claimant having failed on the issues of serious harm and the defendant having succeeded on its honest opinion defense, this claim must be dismissed, the judge said. He did not accept Dyson's view that the head office move amounted to little more than the relocation of 2 senior executives, as the company had asserted at the time. It would, I think, be a mistake to believe that just because something is put out in a press release, it must be true, he said. An MGN spokesperson said, "We welcome today's judgment, which upholds the rights of our columnists to share honestly held opinions, even about powerful or wealthy individuals." Dyson said it was a highly successful global technology company which employs 3,700 people in the UK and paid more UK corporation tax after 2019 than before. The company continues to invest vast sums in the UK, files patents there, and in 2017 founded a university that had educated hundreds of undergraduates who pay no tuition fees while earning a salary and even paying tax, as a Dyson spokesperson said. But I also found the news about other sharks except Dyson quite striking, that have nothing to do with politics but with Britain, because scientists want to search for great white sharks off Cornwall. The area is popular with tourists and surfers. Are there great white sharks on the southwest coast of Britain? Well, a research group wants to find out next year. As the British daily newspaper Times reports, US scientists suspect that the animals migrate north from the Mediterranean every year in search of seals. "We think the sharks are passing by Brest in Brittany and Cornwall," as the newspaper quoted Chris Fisher, founder of the non-profit organization OSearch, which monitors marine animals, as saying. Cornwall is considered an insider tip among surfers. Cornwall is also popular with tourists as a seaside resort because the water there is relatively warm due to the Gulf Stream compared to other areas on the Atlantic coast. Other scientists, such as US marine biologist Greg Scommel, they doubt that Fisher actually finds white sharks there. In an interview with the Times, he said, "There are no documented great white sharks off Cornwall. They are supposed to be there, but they are not there, and we don't know why," is what Scommel said. That's why he would be surprised if his colleague Fisher found one of the animals there. Scommel is confirmed by the British ecologist Georgia Jones. There has been no evidence so far that great white sharks hunt seals in the area, she said. The two researchers received support from shark expert Alessandro de Maddalena. The lack of reliable reports of white shark sightings in the area clearly shows that they are extremely rare there. In the Mediterranean, great white sharks sometimes congregate in areas with lots of bluefin tuna, he said. The number of them could be a few dozen or a few hundred. However, there is no evidence that the animals followed the fish on their migration route into the Atlantic. However, these are not powerful arguments for OSearch founder Fisher, as the article says, because the reason why no great white sharks have been recorded off Cornwall is because no one has looked for them yet. And Fisher says next summer they hope to be there. But last, we forgot something more serious, because Britain is supporting Israel in its search for the hostages still in the Gaza Strip in the hands of the terrorist organization Hamas. In support of the ongoing hostage rescue operation, the British Ministry of Defence will conduct surveillance flights over the eastern Mediterranean and also operate in the airspace over Israel in Gaza. That is what the British government announced on Saturday evening. The surveillance aircraft are unarmed and are used exclusively to locate hostages. Only information relating to the hostage rescue would be passed on to the responsible authorities, the government says. British nationals were among the 240 people abducted by Hamas from Israel on October 7th. And last week, Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire for the first time through the mediation of Qatar, Egypt, and the USA, which was briefly extended twice. And during this time, Hamas released 105 hostages, including 14 Germans. And Israel released 240 Palestinian prisoners in return. Israel assumes that a total of 136 hostages are still being held there. And according to Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, there are 15 women and 2 children among them. The week-long ceasefire in the fighting ended on Friday morning, and since then fighting has flared up again. And if you want to see something else, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.